All right, we're going to start our ELA lesson today. Yesterday, we started by talking about 2 climate regions. We talked about, what were the climate regions? Who can remember what we studied yesterday? We read 2 texts. Alicia, what did we study yesterday? I heard desert, and, say it again. And rainforest, we call that the tropical. So yesterday we studied desert and tropical, which are 2 regions in the US and the world. So today we're going to start with a video about climate for kids. Yes, Dave. I cannot hear Day. Somebody else is calling my name. Somebody else is making sounds. We talked about plants. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, you're right, Day. Yesterday when we studied the desert and when we studied the tropical, which an example is the rainforest, we talked about 3 things. We talked about temperature. We talked about precipitation, remember, rain or snow and how much. And we talked about vegetation. We talked about plants. We're going to begin today by watching a video about climate. I want us to get our brains going thinking about this word climate and how there's different climates around the world and even in our own country. Yes, Angela.
Grammarly does more than...
Okay, I haven't asked you to pull up the task. I said you can just be open to Seesaw. We're going to start with a video and then we'll talk about our task.
And catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find...
Okay, here we go.
Smile and learn.
Hello, friends. Today we're going to learn what climate is. Climate and weather are closely related to one another, but they are different concepts. Do you know the difference? The weather is an atmospheric situation which occurs in a given moment and in a specific place. Look outside the window. What's the weather like now? Is it cold or hot? Is it rainy, cloudy, or windy? Very well. You're observing the weather. In contrast, the climate is the combination of atmospheric conditions that occur in a place for a prolonged period of time. For example, the predominant climate in Central American woods is the tropical climate, because these are hot and humid places with heavy rainfall during summer. The factors that affect the climate are latitude, altitude, landscape, nearby seas, or sea currents. Because of these factors, the elements that make up the climate, temperature, precipitation, humidity, pressure, or winds, vary from one place to another. Did you know that there are different types of climates on Earth? There's a big variety, and every one of them has its own characteristics. We can divide them into hot, temperate, and cold climates. Let's learn more about some of them. The equatorial climate, the tropical climate, and the desert climate are hot climates. The countries near the equator have an equatorial climate. This climate is characterized by being hot and humid owing to heavy precipitation. The temperature is mild, an average of 77 degrees Fahrenheit. The tropical climate is a characteristic of the areas near the tropics. It's a hot and humid climate with heavy rainfall during summer. The desert climate is found in places like the Sahara Desert, the Arabian Desert, the southeast parts of the United States, or a large part of Australia. Is characterized by being very hot and dry. Precipitation is very scarce. The Mediterranean climate, the oceanic climate, and the continental climate are temperate climates. The Mediterranean climate is located along the Mediterranean coast and some parts of its interior. Temperatures are high during summer and mild in winter. Precipitation is not heavy. It hardly rains during the summer months. The oceanic climate is a characteristic of the areas near the Atlantic Ocean and Central Europe. Temperatures are mild during summer. Precipitation is heavy and occurs in all seasons. The continental climate is a characteristic of Eastern European areas. Temperatures are high in summer and very low in winter. Precipitation occurs mainly in summer. The polar climate and high mountain climate are cold climates. The polar climate is located in places like Northern Europe, North America, Russia, or the North Pole. It is characterized by being the coldest climate on Earth. Temperatures range from -58 degrees Fahrenheit in winter to 50 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. Precipitation is scarce. The high mountain climate is found in the highest peaks of the mountains. Temperatures are very low in winter and mild in summer. Precipitation is heavy. Over the past centuries, the climate on Earth has been changing as a consequence of global warming, meaning the increase in global temperature owing mainly to human activity. Climate change affects all countries in the world, causing a negative impact on their economy, people's lives, and all human beings. Worse consequences are predicted in the future if we don't take preventative measures urgently. Currently, there are some viable solutions at hand. Would you like to learn about them? We will tell you about them in our video about climate change.
All right, so we heard lots of different climates in that video, and some people use different words to describe different climates, but today we're really focusing on two climates. Yesterday we learned about tropical and desert. Today we're going to learn about temperate and polar. Let's go ahead and get on Seesaw together. Say, let's get started, and then you can go. Let's find your task. Please click on activities. Assign to class folder, red ELA. Our task today is called Comparing Climates, Temperate and Polar Regions. Go ahead and open up your task, please. Today we're working on two things as we study climate. The first one is identifying the major climate regions of the United States and explaining their characteristics. Can you explain what that climate is like? We also are studying text features. This week we are applying our knowledge of text features to locate information and gain meaning from a text. We know that we can use things like maps, pictures, captions, titles to help us get meaning from our text. Go ahead and click on slide number 3, please. Slide number 3. Our job today during our Zoom lesson is going to be working with a group. We're going to be reading about the temperate climate. Our job is to read and study the text features on slides 4 through 8. So just like yesterday, we have slides that are all about the temperate climate, and it starts on slide number 4. You're going to read and study 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 with your group. Then with your group, you are going to think about what you have learned about the temperate climate on slide number 9. Remember our categories. Number 1 is temperature. Number 2 is precipitation. And number 3 is vegetation. We're going to work on these slides as a group, reading about the temperate climate, and then adding our knowledge about the temperate climate. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure everybody's on our task, and then we'll talk about our groups. Let's start on slide number 5 and get ready to highlight together. Kaylee, what's something you found about the temperate climate that's important?
There are rocks.
Oh, going to our text. Oh, page 5.
There are
Prairies.
prairies are temperature
Grasslands.
grassland
Areas.
areas have few trees.
So pause right there. So temperate climates, an example, sometimes, Ashley and Libby, sometimes a temperate looks like a grassland like this. Sometimes temperate climates have places that are called grasslands, and they're very open, lots of grass. So already I'm thinking about some vegetation that I see, and it says they have few trees. Okay, let's go ahead and look at page number 6. If you're sitting next to a partner, you are extra focused on the teacher's instruction. On slide 6, was there anything important about the temperate climate that we should highlight, Angela?
A type is Jersey is a type of temperate.
Are you reading this first sentence, Angela?
Yeah.
Steppe is a type of temperate grassland. So again, some temperate climates look like this. Not all of them, but this is an example of what can be found in a temperate climate. Remember yesterday we learned about tropical climates? An example is the rainforest. Same thing today. A temperate climate has hot summers and cold winters. And an example is it could look like this. But remember, Indiana is a temperate climate. Indiana doesn't really look like this. So not all temperate climates look like this. This is just one example of what can be found in a temperate climate. Where we live right here today
It's warm.
is a temperate climate too. Yes, Gloria. They have short grasses while prairies have tall grasses. So again, we're hearing about vegetation. Grass is a common type of vegetation in a temperate climate. Let's go back to slide 4. Slide number 4 showed you a text being read to you from Mayan. Who heard something important about the temperate climate? Do not push play. Who can remember something they heard about the temperate climate? Alicia, what did you hear or read? It's not too hot and not too cold. Just like here in Indiana, we have hot summers and cold winters, but it's an easy place to live. It's not too hot all the time. It's not too cold all the time. We call it temperate because it has mild temperatures. People can easily live there if you wear coats and if you wear shorts in the hot weather, things like that. Okay? All right, let's go to slide number 9. Click on slide number 9, please, the chart where we are explaining the characteristics. Everybody should be on page 9. The temperature year-round. Who can read and share out what information is already in our chart? What is the year-round temperature for a temperate climate? Kaylee.
They are useful, not too hot and not cold.
Awesome. I've got some friends who are super focused and then other friends who are not quite focused. You are listening, looking, and listening to the speaker. Temperate is not too hot, not too cold. What else does it say about the temperature that we should know? Looking for everybody to be focused. If you're looking at your screen, you need to be paying attention to what we're doing together. Angela, what else does it say about the temperature?
It says they have
Average.
average temperatures warmer than 50 degrees.
So on average, in a temperate climate, it's warmer than 50 degrees. Today, it is not. Remember, we live in a temperate, and it's very cold today, but it's not very cold every day. We just have some seasons where it's very cold. On average, it's warmer than 50 degrees. Okay, next, precipitation. Remember, precipitation is rain and snow. And how much? What are some things that we got from the text? Gloria.
There is not a lot of rain or snow each year.
So today we have some snow. Yesterday it rained, but it doesn't rain and snow every day all year long. We have some seasons where it doesn't rain at all. So in a temperate climate, there is not a lot of rain or snow all year. Sometimes we have rain and snow, sometimes we don't. That's what happens in a temperate region. What else do we see about the precipitation? Alicia, go ahead.
They get an average of 11.79 inches.
So I remember yesterday reading about the desert, and the desert is very dry. It said the desert has less than 10 inches of rain all year. So we, in a temperate, we have more than that. We do get some rain. We get more rain than the desert, but it's not as wet as tropical. We have some seasons that are pretty dry. Okay, we are ready for vegetation. Number 3, vegetation is the plant life. The plants that can grow. I'm looking for some friends to share out. What type of vegetation can be found in a temperate climate? We heard some repeated words when we read the text together. Nick, there's grass and trees. Angela.
There's flowers, trees, rocks, and hills.
So hills is not quite a part of vegetation, but we can put that in there. There's flowers where we live. We get flowers every spring, right? We live in a temperate region. Gloria. Oh, sometimes there's tall or long grass. We read about that with the prairies and the steppe. Whoops, I misspelled grass here. The grass around us is short grass. Even if you don't cut it, it doesn't grow very tall. But there are other places in a temperate climate where the grass can grow very tall, like this tall. That's called a tall grass. We don't have that around here. That's what these pictures are showing. Places with tall grass like this. You've seen it in real life? Oh, that's awesome. We don't have that most of the time where we live, but that can be in a temperate climate. Okay, wrap up typing your vegetation on slide number 9, and we're going to talk about our task for independent work today. We have learned about a temperate climate with our group, with our partner. Now, on your own today, you're going to learn about the polar climate. I think the polar climate is cool to learn about. I think you're going to enjoy reading about it and listening to it. Today, you're going to think about how is it different from the temperate? How is the polar climate the same? How is it different? Your job today, your instructions are on slide number 10. If you ever forget what you're doing, come back and look at slide number 10. You need to read and study the text on pages 11 through 16. Then you're going to complete the chart on slide 17, describing the climate. On pages 11 through 16, you have text and information. You have text features that can help you understand the polar climate. Then you can fill in the temperature, precipitation, and vegetation of the polar climate. Don't forget to check in and reflect on your success today. That is your task. If you're done, you can explore this video that we watched earlier.